JF, Stretford, Paddock, and we've got a bit of breaking news, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail and the title. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has signed a new contract up until 2024 with a further 1-year extension as an option. The news has just been announced at 11 o'clock, so we've just gone live. The club put out a tweet and put out a statement basically saying what I've just said. That let me just bring it up here now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signs a new contract. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signed a new contract at Manchester United that will see him at the club until at least 2024, well, hopefully, with an option for a further year. Ed Woodward, Executive Vice Chairman, as he grandly calls himself, Ole and his staff have worked tirelessly putting the foundations in place for long-term success on the pitch. The results of that have become increasingly visible over the past 2 seasons, and we're all looking forward to seeing his exciting team develop further in the years ahead. And then it goes on to say, I won't read that entire quote. We don't need a full quote from Edward. We'll do it. He just talks about top-class recruits, homegrown talent, and we're heading in the right direction under Ole's leadership. Ole himself, which is probably more important, what he said, everyone knows the feeling I have for this club, and I'm delighted to have signed this new contract. It is an exciting time for Manchester United. We have built a squad with a good balance of youth and experienced players that are hungry for success. Get involved in the comments, of course, as always. Let us know what you think. Hit that like button as well. I can see loads of you already commenting on this. Are you happy that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signed a new deal? Do you put much weight in it? I mean, do you remember when Jose Mourinho signed a new deal? I think, was it in the January? And he was gone by I think it was the following Christmas time. So, you know, it doesn't mean that necessarily he's going to be here till that time, but it does give him that sort of assurance, that confidence, if you will, that the club and the board believe in him. And also, personally, I think he deserves it. I know some people have criticised Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and there's still a certain section of the fan base that, I won't say they're all out, I say the jury's out. They're not so sure whether he is the man long-term for Manchester United. I personally think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done a good job. I think that if you look at sort of, yes, we've not won a trophy under his tenure, but if you look at the progress in the league, we finished 3rd 2 seasons ago, and obviously 2nd last season. So there is a bit of progress there, and, you know, back-to-back top 4 finishes. I know it sounds a bit sort of two-bob, a bit Arsenal. It's back-to-back top 4 finishes, but we haven't had one since Fergie retired. We haven't had that. So I think we have to sort of look where we were and where we're at now. Look what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing in terms of the recruitment, in terms of the youngsters that are coming through. I don't like to toe the party line when it comes to Manchester United Football Club, but I think a lot of what he said in that statement actually does ring true. Simon Stone, who's Mr. Reliable, has been tweeting about it as well. He's tweeted a few details. He's tweeted some quotes that I've already read out. He also says Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting contractual backing, progress under him deserves. Couldn't have got into final year. Squad still needs improving, but also added scrutiny on taking hardy step, which is winning something. I think it was in 2019, he signed a 3-year deal. So he would have been coming towards the end of that, obviously. March 2019, when he went from caretaker to permanent. The timing of that was a little bit odd, wasn't it? Because he went on this fantastic run as caretaker. I'm not saying he didn't deserve a permanent deal, because I was glad he got one. But then when that run came to an end, I think we lost back-to-back games. I think we lost to Arsenal and Wolves, got knocked out of the cup, lost to Arsenal. And then they gave him a permanent deal, which is odd. But I'm glad they did, because I think had they waited to the end of the season, it might not have happened, because we had that awful run, didn't we, towards the end of the season, where we ended up finishing, was it 6th? I've almost put it out of my mind. I couldn't remember then. I'm glad he's got a new deal, and I think it'll be a popular decision. From what we gather, quite a popular figure as well amongst the players. I know there was a lot of issues, wasn't there, with not just with Jose. I think even Louis van Gaal wasn't universally popular. Ole does seem to get on with the players. I know that's not the be-all and end-all. You don't have to get on with them all, but it helps. I'm going to read through some of the comments, and we'll get into a bit more details on the contract. Rebecca Jade O'Sullivan says, people will hate him because we haven't won a title, but look at the team he inherited and the people he's had to get rid of. Yeah, he's done a lot of sort of clearing out as well, Ole. Not just players that he's brought in, but you look at when he came in, there were players that were either unhappy, disillusioned, or just weren't performing. You look at players like, for example, Alexis Sanchez, it wasn't really happening for him. Then you had players like Anthony Martial and Paul Pogba, who fell out with Jose. He managed to get, argue whether it's the best, or certainly in terms of Anthony Martial, his best season in terms of goal scoring was under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Paul Pogba and Jose's relationship had deteriorated, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was obviously able to get Paul Pogba playing well. He played very well in that first season, especially under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And then there was moving players on. He moved on Marouane Fellaini. He moved on some of the other players that, were sort of in and around the fringes. Chris Smalling, Ashley Young, obviously Sanchez, like I mentioned. Even Lukaku. I know Lukaku one is a bit of a contentious one because people look at it and go, he's gone to win, won a title, scored loads of goals. You always knew he was going to score goals, but at United, it'd been a bit of a mixed bag, hasn't it? If we're being honest, and you look at his goal scoring record at United, on paper it looks all right, but there was big spells of sort of a spurt of goals, then massive spells where he wouldn't score. Record against top six wasn't great. Ole didn't fancy him, moved him on, started giving more sort of responsibilities to Martial, to Marcus, brought in Cavani, of course. His recruitment's been great. I think you look at the signings we've made, that's worked. Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes. You might question Donny van de Beek, but I still think he's got a future. And then players like Edinson Cavani, of course. Even Ighalo was only like a short-term thing, sort of did what he needed to for a little while, didn't it? So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me, this. And I think going into a new season with a manager, with a new deal under his belt, is a positive move by Manchester United. I think it's sort of, not only does it send out a message to everyone, this is a manager, we're happy with him, sends out a message to the players, gives him that stability as well. But also, if he's trying to sign players, we're still, there's talk of us going for Raphael Varane, talk of us maybe bringing in a midfielder as well. That helps because you're saying, we've got a manager here, and if you rate this manager, or if you want to work with this manager, he's on a bit of a long-term deal. Prashant Biduri in the Super Chat says, hello Jay, I prefer the stability. We can wait for a trophy, but this team is the best since Fergie left. A future manager has a stable squad up the Reds. Let's go through some of the other comments as well. Mainly people seem pretty positive about this. Juan Iqbal says, Ole improved in and out of the field. He has improved everywhere. Simon Dawson says, deserves the deal. Not everyone though. Mr. P-Dep says, should have signed Conte instead. Get involved in the comments. Let us know if there's anyone out there what your opinion of this is. Hit that like button as well, regardless of whether you like the fact he's got a new deal. Give us a like, give us a share as well, and make sure you're subscribing. IFIM says, he saved us from becoming Arsenal, lads. That alone is deserving of a new contract. It's funny, isn't it? Because last season, there was all this talk, one of sort of Arteta, Lampard, and Ole, and it was all a similar footing. And Arteta has had another very poor season, really, finishing, 8th. Lampard obviously moved on. Chelsea brought in Tuchel, had success. But Ole did a good job last season. Yes, it was frustrating not to win any silverware. Very frustrating to lose the Europa League final to a pretty beatable Villarreal team, if we're being honest. But finishing second, and it wasn't the same sort of, this makes sense, second when we finished second under Jose. Yes, we weren't really in a title race, but we were closer to a title race last season than we've been since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. It wasn't like, a 19-point gap all through the season. There was a time when we were obviously top of the table for a little spell, and I think had we had a bigger squad, we would have had a much better chance, because I know it's not the most insightful sort of comment, but once we started getting a couple of injuries, I think Paul Pogba picked up a knock. We lost a couple of other players. Eric Bailly had been fantastic, we then got injured. We were always going to struggle because we just didn't have the squad of someone like Manchester City who could just bring in, like-for-like players all over the pitch. We didn't have that. Now we've brought in Jadon Sancho, that's going to help. There's a lot of speculation about bringing in Raphael Varane. I hope that deal happens. There's more speculation that maybe we'll go for a midfielder. But to counter that, there's also rumours and reports that Paul Pogba could be moving out. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in this transfer window. But giving the manager a new deal is a great thing, is a good thing, in my opinion. And I'm glad he's got it. I've always been a massive fan of Ole, both as a player and as a manager. I think he's doing a good job. But we have to back him properly in the transfer window. Jadon Sancho, yes, he improves our team, not just the squad, the team, massively. But we need more additions, because we're not going to catch City by just signing Jadon Sancho. I wish we could, and I wish we did, but I don't think we will. You look at City, they're starting from a sort of a higher level than us. And there's talk of them going for Jack Grealish, maybe even Harry Kane as well. If they sign those two players, it's going to be very difficult to catch them if we've only bought Jadon Sancho. You look at Chelsea, I mentioned earlier, obviously buoyed by the fact that they won the Champions League. You'd expect them to bring in some new players. The Scousers, who don't like to talk about it, but they had some injuries. Those players are coming back from injury. And again, they've been linked with quite a few players, so you'd expect them to spend a little bit of money in the transfer window. So I don't think United can just bring in one player, give Ole a new deal. I think that's enough. I know we brought in Tom Eaton, if you want to get technical, 2 players. I think we do need to bring in some more additions and some more players that fight for the team as well, that are in there sort of fighting for the starting 11, not just squad players. Yes, we need a squad, but we need some players for the first team as well. And I think giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this new deal, and backing him in the transfer window would set out a good marker, for the season coming. There's some more comments as well from Ole. He says, I have a fantastic coaching team around me, and we are all ready to take the next step on our journey. Manchester United wants to be winning the biggest and best trophies, and that's what we are all striving for. We have improved both on and off the pitch, and that will continue over the coming seasons. I can't wait to get out in front of a packed Old Trafford and get this campaign started. Do you know what? I'm with him on that one. I can't wait myself to go to Old Trafford for... I think there's some friendlies coming up. I might go for a Brentford one, but yeah, for the Leeds game, I think that's the season opener in it for Old Trafford. Can't wait for that one. It's been so long since we've had a packed Old Trafford, and it'll be great to sort of see the team there. And I'm sure whether you can go or not, you're going to be getting behind the team in any way you can. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. This Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like I said, so he signed his deal on a permanent one in March 2019. After that sort of amazing run as caretaker. Got the deal off that, really. I think when he came in as caretaker, no one thought he was going to be made permanent manager. It was a bit of a sideways move on it from United, bringing in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who didn't have a lot of Premier League experience. He'd been relegated with Cardiff, which isn't exactly a ringing endorsement. The main thing he had was he was a safe pair of hands. He knew the club, well respected at the club. A lot of the players knew him. He'd been in and around the reserve team, if you remember, sort of 10 years ago, and obviously players knew him from that, and the fact he was a club legend. Brought in as a caretaker, literally just to sort of steady the ship after all the shenanigans that had gone under Jose, but then went on an amazing run, convinced the board that he had what it took to be a permanent Manchester United manager, got that deal, and in his first full season, we finished third and get to a few semi-finals. Second season, we finish second. So there has been progress there, you know what I mean? So I can see why he has been given this deal. It does make a lot of sense to me. I don't feel like this is sort of a panic by the board or something. Like sometimes the board just go, oh, we've had a couple of good games or whatever, let's give this player a new contract, let's give the manager a new deal. I think this makes a lot of sense to me, because you don't want a manager going into last year of his contract. You want him to have that stability. Ole, I think, has earned it, and I think it sets out a good marker for the rest of the season. Just have a look at some of the comments, some of the chat, what everyone's saying. XOH says, Ole needs to surround himself with world-class coaching staff. We have got some good coaches, and we've brought in, is it Eric Ramsey, came in during the summer. This is the young guy. I think he's relatively young for a coach, who's a bit of a set-piece expert, because Manchester United, our record at defending set-pieces last season and even scoring from set-pieces wasn't great at all, and he's going to, been brought in to sort of address that. You've also got Kieran McKenna, Michael Carrick, Mickey Phelan, of course, is there. So he has got a strong coaching staff, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's got a good sort of mixture as well of someone like Phelan, who was there under Fergie. He's been around for years. Michael Carrick, relatively new. Kieran McKenna, a bit younger as well. And this lad called Eric Ramsey, who's, bringing in a sort of more sort of specific role to the coaching in terms of looking at the set pieces and how we can get more bangs for our buck out of that one. Also, yeah, someone 22 just mentioned Paul McShane back at United. Yeah, I read that this morning as well. He's returned to the club. I think he's going to be looking, is it the under 23s? I think he's like a player coach in the 23s. So I think, all this makes sense, and all this is, it's sort of building the right foundations going into this season. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Now, though, you have to back him with the right transfers, because giving him a new deal and Jadon Sancho is a step in the right direction. It's a massive step forward, but you need more than that. You know what I mean? We can't just say, right, okay, now that's it, we're sorted. We've got Jadon Sancho, got Tom Eaton, Ollie's got a new deal, we're ready to go. There's a lot of talk, obviously, about Raphael Varane, but I still think we need to strengthen as well in other areas. Hopefully we can do. One thing now, Ollie's spoken about this, and I think he's right, and I think this adds to it. He's spoken about being under a little bit of pressure this season, probably more so than ever, because this is going into his third full season. He has had a transfer. His long-term target has always been Jadon Sancho, and he's got him. So if you look at that, that's going to add pressure, because despite the fact that I still feel we need more, people are going to look at it and go, okay, you got a £73 million signing, the play that you've always wanted. This is your third season. You're expected to win something. We keep getting to semi-finals, and last season we got to a final, of course. We've got to kick on and win something. Yes, we were top of the league for a couple of weeks, but it wasn't really a full season title challenge. We didn't push City quite to the wire like many of us wanted to. So the pressure is going to be on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and just because he signed a new deal, I actually don't think this means the pressure's off him. I think it probably adds a bit more, because it's like, right, you've got a new deal, you've got at least one transfer that you wanted. Hopefully there'll be some more coming in. We expect a little bit more than just finishing, in the top 4 and getting to semi-finals or finals. We'll have to wait and see, though. You don't know, but it does feel like there will be a little bit more pressure. Maybe it's not from the board as much. Maybe the board would be happy with just finishing the top 4 because you get the Champions League. If you have some cut runs as well, they're getting revenue from the cut runs. Maybe they'll be happy with that. I think the fans, though, some of the fans will be looking at going, can't just have another season of almost. Big Dosser says, definitely progressing as a team. Is Ole the man to win us the league? Champions League, ? Who knows, but he's done more to suggest he is than his predecessors. Get involved in that. Do you think that he is the man? Because we've had this sort of discussion on the channel time and time again. There's some people that think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is almost keeping it warm for someone. There's this feeling that, okay, you get Ole in, he's going to have 3 or 4 years at the club, brings a bit of stability, brings in some signings, nurtures the youngsters, and then someone like, I don't know, a Conte or whoever comes in and wins us a title. I'm not so sure. I think Ole could win us the big trophies. I think he has to be backed. I think there has been progress. You can see it from our finishes, how we've gone from 6th to 3rd to 2nd. But he does have to be back properly, because if he's not back properly in the transfer market, I don't think any manager with this squad, without a couple of additions, is going to be able to catch Manchester City, whether it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or anyone else. People get involved in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Lewis Lim says, 3 years of boring, negative and defensive football. Has it been boring, negative and defensive football? I don't think it has. I don't think the football under Ole's, if that's what you're referring to, I presume so, has been boring, negative and defensive. I think you look at the football under Louis van Gaal, for example. I didn't see a goal down my end of the pitch. I used to sit in J stand. We didn't see a goal down there for 3 months, and I've never experienced that before as a Manchester United fan. It was horrible. And then you look at it under Jose. There was a time when I quite liked Jose, but sometimes the football it tested you. I don't think it was always all-out attacking football. I know we had that little spell in his second season, was it? Where it was like 4-0 FC for the start of the season. But there was a lot of times when the football wasn't great. Even when we won those 2 trophies in 2017, if you look at our league form just disintegrated. There was a lot of poor performances there. So this idea that, it's so boring, negative, I'm not really buying that. I think we've had more sort of 4 goal, 5 goals and 6 goal victories in all his tenure than we have all the other managers put together. So, since Fergie, I should say. I'm not sure. I think that's a little bit high saying that he's negative. Prashant Baduri says, he's the man. His football's been amazing. Rooney876 says, I'm happy for Ole. Now he needs to win a proper trophy. Yashki G says, people used to sleep in Old Trafford under LVG. We did a quiz once. We was in the middle of the game, the quiz you got from the fans in. Everyone sat around doing a quiz. That's how exciting the football was. BK7 says, Chelsea getting Tuchel, City with Guardiola, Klopp with Liverpool, and we have Ole. What a proud moment, lol. I think he's been a bit sarcastic there. Listen, I think Ole's doing a good job, and I think, he's might not have the track record of some of those managers. Look at what those managers have won, and I get it. They've won a lot more trophies at a higher level than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has. I know he won trophies in his native Norway, but look at the job he's doing at Manchester United. Sometimes as well, the most experienced, the best manager, or the one with the best CV isn't the one for you. If you look at some of the managers that have won titles or won Premier Leagues, Manuel Pellegrini never won anything, I don't think, until he went to City. No, and he won the Premier League there. I don't think he ever won anything. Was Manuel Pellegrini a sort of tactical genius? I don't think he was. He'd done a good job at Real Madrid. I think they'd had a sort of record number of goals, but they didn't win the La Liga. If you look at Claudio Ranieri, he'd been around the block, he'd been everywhere, and he hadn't really ever reached the very top. That's why, no disrespect to him, he ended up at Leicester. So you can go, oh, well, these managers are more experienced, they've won a lot more, that means Ole can't win it. I'm not so sure. I think he could do. I think if you look at the progress he's made with the right signings, there's no reason to think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer couldn't deliver a title. I'm not saying he's going to, but I think if he had the right backing, I think he's got every chance. I'll have a look as well in the comments. Gaz W says, can't wait to take my seat in Old Trafford in a couple of weeks and hear the chorus of Ole, 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 Ole when that first goal goes in. Vinav Navi says, Klopp won nothing for 4 years. That was a Mourinho quote. Chris Strowther says, remember when everyone wanted Poch and he came second in a one-horse race? Yeah, there was. Do you remember like a year ago? It was the massive sort of movement one there, probably about 18 months ago, for Mauricio Pochettino to come in as manager of Manchester United. Everyone was saying he was the man to get. That, you know, there was a massive sort of, not, I wouldn't say it was most of the fans, I don't think it was. There was a certain section of the fan base that would determine that if Mauricio Pochettino came in, he'd have success at Manchester United and he'd be better option than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There may even be some of you that still think that. I never bought into that. I think Pochettino is a decent manager. I don't think he's that good. And I think the fact that, you know, when he was at Spurs, they did okay. But when you look at that Leicester title win that I was referring to, you know, Spurs ended up finishing third in a two-horse race there. It's between them and Leicester. And Arsenal ended up finishing above him. And then he's gone to PSG. You go to PSG with the squad you've got there, the players you've got there, the minimum you're expected to do is win the title. That's not even a debate, That's not like, oh, are we going to win the title? That should be like, we're going to win the title. How are we going to get on in the Champions League? They didn't do really well in the Champions League. I know they obviously had injuries, and they didn't win the league. So Pochettino's got his own issues. He's got himself to prove. He's still, you know, I know I think he won a couple of cups in France, so it wasn't a complete disaster. But the idea that Pochettino, you know, he's going to come in here and take over from Ole and have more success than Ole or win your trophies, I don't think that's borne out by any evidence. I don't think we've got any evidence there. You could go, well, look at what Pochettino's done throughout his career. He's someone that's gone to various clubs and won lots of trophies. He hasn't. It just hasn't happened like that. Sandiso Mancaza says, can't really fault Murtagh so far. Sancho tick, Ole tick. That's John Murtagh, the guy that's come in as the director of football, I think he is. There was a bit of a revamp, wasn't there, behind the scenes during, I was going to say during the summer, but it was like during the end of last season, where I think Darren Fletcher became technical director. I'm always getting it mixed up. Darren Fletcher became technical director, John Murtagh became director of football, and it was like a case of, finally, we've got a sort of background setup that people are happy with. Some people weren't too sure. There was talk that Nicky Butt had left because John Murtagh got that job, which is, never nice to see a club legend leaving the club. I still think, and I've said this since he got appointed, we'll see how he gets on in terms of transfers. That's how John Murtagh is going to be judged. Yes, signing Ole to a new deal is a positive move. Yes, getting Jadon Sancho in is a positive move. I'm not so sure that John Murtagh necessarily should take all the credit for those two things. I think that if you look at the Jadon Sancho story last summer, or the story, it felt like a story, didn't it? Like a saga situation last summer, when Dortmund wanted 120 million quid for him, that was never going to happen. We knew that a year further down the line into his deal with Dortmund, he was going to be a lot cheaper. They've obviously had financial issues as well due to COVID and other stuff, so we'd expect to be able to get that deal done for less. Yes, we got him done for 73 million, which I think is a good deal for Jadon Sancho. But I'm not quite, dancing in the streets about that, because I would have rather have got him earlier. Because I think if we had Jadon Sancho last summer, we'd have had a better chance of winning the title and probably have won a trophy. Because I think he turns one of the semi-final in the League Cup or the final in the Europa into a win. Or maybe, you go further in the Champions League, you don't even end up in the Europa. But we've got him for a good price. So I'm not saying I'm criticising John Murtagh. I just think the jury's out. I think it's too soon to start saying he's doing a great job because he's got Jadon Sancho and he's got Ole on a new deal. We'll wait and see what happens in this summer. I still feel we need to make some transfers. Edward Bamber says, Murtagh as our director of football has been like night and day after Woodward. I think Woodward, and I'm one of Woodward's biggest critics, I think he's been an absolute disaster for Manchester United since before he arrived, when he was the architect of the takeover by the Glazers. So I've got no time for him, and I think he's just, as it was Gary Neville said once, he's playing played football manager of our football club. But yeah, it certainly seems like, things are moving forward, don't they? He's announced he's leaving. I think he leaves at the end of this year, not the season. I think it's the end of this calendar year. So he's still involved at the minute. How involved in this deal is, I'm not sure. I know we had his quote, so I imagine he's had some sort of say in it because he's still the executive vice chairman, as he calls himself. But hopefully, when he moves on, or when this summer carries on, John Murtagh can step up and do what he's been paid to do, and that's make transfers happen for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. David asked who is on the watch along today. Was asked who's on the watch along. Adam, you've got myself, that boy Ronaldo Brown, and Adam McCullough. Hit like on the video as well. Give us a like. Someone saying 21 is coming. The Zillion says 21 is coming. Is it? We'll have to wait and see. Who knows? VJ Mukesh says, if Ole is as bad as people make him out to be, how come Pep and Klopp are the only two managers to finish above him since he became permanent manager? Is that a true stat? It must be, yeah, isn't it? It's very good, yeah. It was only 2 seasons, but no, yeah, you're right. took Klopp a little while, didn't it, at Liverpool? I think he had more credit in the bank because of what he'd achieved at Dortmund, but it took him a few years to start winning trophies, and took him, 5 years, 6 years to win the title. So I think we need to sort of be a little bit more, patient, but I think Ole deserves his deal, and I think now is the time for him to kick on and win trophies if he gets the right backing as well. I think even with his squad, you'd expect him to be challenging in the cup competitions, definitely. But I think if we bring in one or two more players, then maybe we can go a little bit further in the league. And obviously the step up in the league is going from second to first. Who knows, maybe we can put a title challenge, at least a proper title challenge. That'd be a start, because we had a little bit of one last season, didn't we, where we were top of the league for about a fortnight, and we were getting all excited thinking, could this actually be it? And then it all just sort of fell apart in, when was it, sort of January, February time. We dropped too many points. We've lost that game at home to Sheffield United, the draw with Everton. I don't need to go on. I Am Borp says, Ole outers are steaming. There seems to be fewer Ole outers, if you can call them that, nowadays. Most people, I think, are behind this manager. Some may question him whether he's a long-term man, but I think there is a lot more positivity towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's a lot more confidence in him. I don't think it's universal. I don't think everyone thinks, yes, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's the answer to all our problems. There's still people that look at it and go, he's not won anything as a manager in England. He's won stuff in Norway in 2013. I think his last trophy was there. He's obviously won everything as a player, which is great, because he's got that experience of winning at Manchester United, but he hasn't won anything as a manager. And I think people are still looking at that and going, as a manager, in England, and I think people who aren't quite as confident in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as I am, look at that and go, that's something he needs to address. Hopefully, he can do it next season, though, or this season, I should say. And the fact that he's got a new deal should fill us all with confidence. I'm going to wrap it up there. We have got the watch-along coming later. As I said earlier, David, great show. Jay, says David there. I'm going to read that because it's a compliment. Thanks, David. We're going to have myself, Adam McCullough, and Ronaldo Brown, so make sure you're checking that out. If you're not doing already, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get a notification when we go live or when we post a video, as we'll keep you updated with any more news. If it's a Rafael Varane transfer or anyone else, we'll go live straight away. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've been Jay Motti. This has been breaking news at Stretford Paddock. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has signed a new deal, keeping him at Manchester United Football Club to 2024 with an option of a further year deal. Thanks for watching.